Hello everyone, this is Siddharthan. In the previous video, we have discussed about the basic data types in Python, which included integer, floating points, string, boolean and complex numbers. So in this video, we are going to discuss the remaining special data types in Python. Okay, so these data types include list, tuple, set and dictionary. Okay, so basically there are two types of objects in Python. So immutable objects and mutable objects. Immutable objects are those whose value cannot be changed once it's created, and mutable objects are those whose value can be changed once it's created. Okay, and the examples of immutable objects are integers, floating points, strings, boolean values and tuples. Okay, and mutable objects are list, set and dictionary. Okay, so in this video we are going to discuss about these four data types, which are list, tuple, set and dictionary. Okay, so first of all, let's discuss about list. Okay, so list should be enclosed in square bracket, so I'll mention it in the comment here. So list okay, so list should be included in the square bracket. Okay, so list are nothing but they are like arrays in C program, so they can store multiple values. Okay, so all these data types which are going to see today can store multiple values, whereas the previous data types we have seen, which are integer, float and strings, can store only one value. Okay, so these list, set and dictionary can store multiple values. Okay, so I'll create a list and name it as my list. So my list is equal to, so we need to put all the components in the square bracket. So let's say 1 2 3 4 and 5. So this is my list, and let me print this. So print my list. Okay, now I'll also check the data type of this. So if you are not sure about what is a particular data type, you can use the keyword type and you need to mention the variable which you want to find. Okay, so I'll put my list here, so this will return the data type of this particular variable. Okay, so as you can see here, our list is printed in square bracket, and so we have checked the data type of my list and it is written that it is a list data type. Okay, so this is how you can check the data type. And now let's discuss about some important properties and operations that can be carried out on list. Okay, so list can store multiple data types. So here we have only integer values, right? So similarly, it's not the case that only integers or only floating points should be present in a list. So we can have integer values, floating point values, strings and boolean in a single list. Okay, so I'll mention this. List can have multiple data types. Okay, whereas some of the data types such as set does not allow this. Okay, so they can have only one type of data. Okay, so my list is equal to, let me put 2 3. So 2 and 3 are integers, so let me put a floating point now. Let's say 1.8, and let's now include a string. Let's say English. So English is a word, so it is a string value. So and let's also include a boolean value, true. Okay, so we have multiple data types here. Now let me print my list. Okay, so as you can see here, we have different data types in list, and multiple data types are supported in a single list. Okay, now as I have told you earlier that lists are mutable. Okay, so lists are mutable. So mutable means they can be changed once they are created. Okay, so they are changeable. Okay, so now let's see how we can add elements to a list. So add elements to a list. Okay, so first of all, let's copy this list here. Okay, my list. So I copy this. Okay, so you can use the function append to add an element into a list. Okay, so let me mention my list. Okay, so dot append is the function that is used to add any element. So let's say that we want to add 6 to our list. Okay, so this will add the element 6 at the end of our list. Okay, now let's print our list. So print my list. Okay, as you can see here, in our original list a new value is added, which is 6. So that is why we are using the function dot append. Okay, so each of these elements has a particular index in the list. Okay, so as I've told you earlier in the previous video that indexing in Python starts from 0. So the index of this first element is 0, and the index of this second element is 1, and third is 2, and it goes on. Okay, so you can print the several elements in a list using their index. Okay, so now we are going to see how we can print elements of a list using their index. Okay, so let's print this. So print mention my list, and you need to specify the index in square brackets. Okay, so when I mention the index as 0, it will print the first element, which is 2. Okay, now let's print the third element. The third element is 1.8, right? So my list, the index of 1.8 is 0, 1, 2. Okay, now let's print and see this. As you can see here, it can print the individual elements once we mention the index. Okay, so this is how you can call the specific elements in a list using their index. Okay, so another important property of list is that it allows duplicate values. So list allow duplicate or repeated values, whereas set does not allow duplicate values. So in the case of set, it removes duplicate or repeated values. So we'll be seeing that when we are discussing about set. Okay, so here let's create a list as list 1, and let's say list 1 is equal to, so we want to put the elements in a square brackets, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and again 1, 2, and let's say 2 and 3. Let me print this. Print list 1. Okay, I'll run this. As you can see here, it allows the duplicate values. So here we have the duplicate values as 2, 1, 3. Okay, so it is one main properties of list. Okay, now we can check the number of elements in a list using one function. Okay, so let's check how many numbers are there. So totally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So totally we have 8 numbers in this list. Okay, so you can check the size of the list here, so using the function length. Okay, so the short form for length is len, and inside the brackets, inside the parenthesis, mention the list name, so list 1. So this will count the number of elements present inside the list 1. Okay, so I'll print this. So as you can see here, it has printed the number of elements present in this list, which is 8. Okay, now let's see how we can initiate an empty list. Initiating an empty list. So let's say that list 2 is equal to square bracket. So you need to mention the opening square bracket and the ending square bracket. So this is nothing but an empty list. So we can print this empty list. As you can see here, it is a list, but it does not contain any values, and you can add values to this using the function list2 dot append, which we have seen already. Let's say we append the value 5 to it. Okay, so now let's print this. Print list2. So this is how you can create an empty list and add a value to it. So this feature is very important because in lot of cases we will create an empty list and we add values one by one. Okay, so this is how you can initiate a list. So as I told you earlier, lists are mutable, right? They are changeable. So hence we can delete the element present in a list. Okay, so delete an item in a list, but we cannot do that in the case of tuples and other immutable data types. Okay, let's say that list2 is equal to, let's copy the elements from this list. Okay, I'll copy these elements. Okay, and I'll put it in this list, and let me print this list. So print list 2. Okay, now you can delete the elements present in a list using the function delete, so del. Okay, so mention the list name and mention the index number which you want to delete. So let's say that I want to delete this 1.8. The index of 1.8 is 2, so index of 2 is 0, this is 1 and 2, so it is in the normal numerical order. Instead it starts with 0. Okay, so that's about index. So index of 1.8 is 2. Okay, so list and mention the index in the square brackets, say 2, and now let's print our new list. So list 2. So this basically prints the list without deleting any item in this line, and then we will delete the third item using the index 2, and then we will print the deleted list. Okay, so I'll run this. So as you can see here, the third element which has the index of 2 is deleted from this list. So this is how you can delete items in a list. And then one more interesting feature about the list is you can join two lists. Okay, so let me create the list as list 3, which is equal to 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, and I'll create another list as list 4, which is equal to 6 7 8 9 and 10. Okay, now we can join these two lists. Okay, so I'll create another list as list 5, and list 5 is equal to list 3 plus list 4. So the important point to note here is when I add these two lists, it won't add these elements element wise. Okay, so it will join the two lists, so it will concatenate the two lists. So let's print this list 5. As you can see here, the list 3 and list 4 are joined together and they are stored in the list 5. So this is how you can join two lists. Okay, so these are some important features and properties of list. Okay, now let's discuss about tuple. So tuple are similar as list, except the fact that they are immutable objects. So once you create an element in a tuple, you cannot change it, hence it is called as an immutable data type. Okay, so let's create a tuple as tuple 1. So tuples should be enclosed in parentheses or round brackets. Okay, so let's put the elements as 2 3 4 and 5. Okay, whereas the list should be enclosed in square brackets. So let me print my tuple. So print tuple 1, and let's check the data type also as using the function type of tuple 1. So this will print the data type of this variable tuple 1. Okay, as you can see here, the tuples are always enclosed in round brackets or parentheses, and this type function is printed our data type as tuple. Okay, now let's discuss some properties of tuple. So likewise, so similar to list, tuples also allow multiple data types in a single tuple. So you can have integers, floating points, strings, etc. in a single tuple. Okay, so tuple allows multiple data types in a single tuple. Okay, so let's create the tuple as tuple 2, which is equal to, again parenthesis, let's say 1 2 3.5. let's include a string as machine learning, and another boolean as false. So boolean data types are nothing but true and false values. So let's try to print this tuple 2. So it runs properly because it can allows multiple data types, integers, floating points, strings, etc. Okay, now let's see how we can convert a list into a tuple. Okay, so converting a list to a tuple. So first of all, let's create our list as my list, and let's say my list as the elements. So list should be enclosed in the square brackets. Let's say it's 3 4 5 and 6. Okay, now we need to convert this to a tuple. Before that, let me print this list. So print my list Okay, so now let me create another variable called as my tuple. Okay, so my tuple is equal to, so for converting a list to a tuple or other data types to a tuple, you need to use the keyword tuple. Okay, so tuple in the parenthesis mention this list name. So the list name is my list, right? So I'll paste it here. So this will convert this my list to a tuple and store it to this variable my tuple. So now let's print this my tuple. So print my tuple. Okay, so as you can see here, it has printed our list first, and this list is converted to tuple, so you can distinguish it using its square brackets. Okay, so this is how you can convert a different data type to a tuple. So similarly, we have printed the individual elements in a list by mentioning their index value, right? So you can see here, so we have mentioned the index value to print the elements of a list. So similarly, you can use indexing to print the elements of list as well, sorry, a tuple as well. Let's say we want to print my tuple, the first element of my tuple, so we will give the index as 0. Now let's print my tuple, and now let's mention the index 1. So this will, sorry, index 1, this will print the first two elements, which are 3 and 4. Okay, as you can see here, this is how you can call specific elements using their index values. Okay, so as I've earlier told you, tuples are immutable. Tuples are immutable, which means unchangeable. So once they are created, their elements cannot be changed. So we can try this. So in the case of list, we have used the function dot append to append or join a value to a list, but we cannot do that in the case of tuple. Let's say that my tuple dot append 6. So this will throw us an error because tuple values cannot be changed. Okay, so as you can see here, so tuple object has no attribute append, so we cannot change the elements of the tuple using this append or any function because they are immutable. Okay, now we can also find the number of elements present in the tuple using the same function length. So let's print my tuple, length of my tuple. Okay, so as you can see here, this my tuple has 4 elements, so this is how you can print the number of elements using the keyword length. Okay, so this is about the important properties of tuple. Now let's discuss about another important data type, set. So set are also mutable data types, and so we have seen that the list elements should be enclosed in square bracket, tuple elements should be enclosed in parentheses or round brackets, and set should be enclosed in curly brackets. Okay, curly brackets. So let me create the set as my set, which is equal to, so put the elements in a curly brackets, let's say 1 2 3 4 and 5, and I'll print my set, and let's check the data type as well. So type my set. So as you can see here, the elements are printed in the curly brackets, and we can find the elements, and we can find the data type of the set, and it is printed here using the keyword type. Okay, now we cannot call an element present in the set using their index. So we have seen in the case of list and tuple, we can print specific elements using their index, but set does not support indexing. So let's try this. Let's say that we want to print the first element of my set, so I'll mention 0. So if I run this, we will get an error because set does not support indexing. So as you can see here, set object does not support indexing, so you don't have any index value associated to the elements of set. So this is one main feature of set, because this is what distinguishes between list, tuple and set. Okay, now you can convert a list into a set let's see how we can do that. So convert list to a set. Let's say that let's create a list as list 5, which is equal to, so list should be enclosed in square bracket, let's say 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So these are the elements of the list. Now I need to convert this to a set. So what I'll be doing is I'll create the set and store it in the variable x. Okay, so x, so you can use the keyword set to convert one data type to a set. Okay, so now we are going to convert this list 5 into a set. So mention the list 5 here. So list 5. Okay, now let me print this x. So what happens here is, so we have a list here and this list will be converted into a set using this set function and it will be stored in the variable x, and now we are going to print this variable x. As you can see here, we got a set because we have curly brackets and in the list we have square brackets. So this is how you can convert list or tuple into a set. Okay, so and one important feature of set when compared to list and tuple is that set does not allow duplicate values, whereas list and tuple do allow duplicate values or repeated values in it, whereas set does not allow duplicate values. Okay, so let's check this. Let's say that set 3 is equal to, so I'll mention the elements in curly brackets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and again let me put 1, 2 and 3. Now let's print this. So what happens is the repeated values automatically gets deleted. Okay, so as you can see here, the repeated values 1, 2, 3 are not printed because set does not allow any repeated values. So this is about some important features of set, and now we are going to discuss about the last data type, which is dictionary. Okay, so dictionary are special data types because they are quite different from the other data types list, tuple and set. Okay, so the peculiarity of dictionary is that it contains a key value pair. So dictionaries have a key value pair, so each element has a key in it and a value associated with that key. Let's see how is that. So let me create the dictionary as my dictionary. Okay, so my dictionary is equal to, so dictionary values are also enclosed in curly brackets. So first let's create the key as name. Okay, so this is the first key and you need to put a colon there, and let's say that the name of the person is David. Okay, so David. Now this is the first element, so this key, so name is the key and David is the element. Okay, so this is the first element. Now let's create another element as age. Okay, so let's say age, so age is the second key and age of David is 30. So this is the second element. And now let's create the third element as country, country of David. So again colon, let's put India. Okay, so this dictionary has 3 elements, so each element has a key in it and a value associated to it. So in this third element, country is the key and value is India. Okay, so let's try to print my dictionary. Okay, and also let's check the data type of this. So put type and my dictionary. Okay, as you can see here, we have printed our elements in the dictionary and the elements are enclosed in curly brackets, and we have got this data type as a dictionary. Okay, now so in the case of list and tuple, we have seen that we can call specific elements in a list or tuple using their index, but in the case of dictionary we can call this value using their respective key. So we can call a value using their key. So if I want to print this David, I need to mention the key, which is name. If I want to print the age, I need to mention age, and if I want to print India, I need to mention the country. So let's see how we can do it. Let's say print my dictionary and in the square brackets enclose which you want to print. So first I want to print the name, and now let's print the age And lastly, let's print country. Okay. Okay, so this will print their respective values. So as you can see here, this is how you can call the values inside the dictionary using their keys. Okay, so in lot of the cases, dictionaries are very useful for us. Okay, so and another important properties of dictionary is that dictionaries does not allow duplicate values. So list and tuple allows duplicate values, whereas list and tuple allows, and set and dictionary does not allow duplicate values or repeated values. So dictionary does not allow duplicate values. So let me create a dictionary as dictionary 2, which is equal to, so I'll copy these key and value. Okay, so I'll paste it here in the dictionary 2, and I'll again paste this. So you can see here we have repeated values, so we have duplicate values. Now let's try to print this dictionary 2 and see what happens. As you can see here, the duplicate values are removed. So hence set and dictionary does not allow duplicate or repeated values. So that is all about the special data types in Python: list, tuple, set and dictionary. So the difference between the other basic data types is that these data types can store multiple values in them. Okay, so these data types are very similar to arrays in C programming. Okay, so I hope you have understood all the things covered in this video. So do practice all these codes I have done here. Okay, so thanks for watching.